People are confused. Somehow they care more about upgrading their phone than upgrading the biggest asset that they have as a human being, which is their mind. Somehow we tell ourselves, or we convince ourselves, that that new app that will save our time, that time-saving app, is the shit that we need. Let me tell you how to save time. By spending less time on your phone. And the time that you spend on your phone, spend it wisely. Spend it. Don't consume. Don't scroll on your device. But create posts like this one, for example. That's one post that got over. I posted a couple of days ago. It got over 500,000 views, 70,000 likes, and that's all free. You can get that, and it's basically one decision. It's one decision that you change instead of consuming, creating. It's one decision. That's really, really what it is. And so we are confused. That's what I call being confused. And I'm not the only one, many people, of course. If we look at some of the greatest of our time, those people are saying the same things. If you look at Bill Gates, at Warren Buffett, at the greats, because that's what you need to do. Even if you're an artist, you look at those insane business people to learn from the best, to learn from the best. And so there's one interview that I'm always reminding myself of. An interview where the interviewer asks Bill Gates and Warren Buffett in the same room, what's the biggest word for your success? What's the biggest word for your success? And they had to write it down. They had to write it down so that they wouldn't influence one another. And the first one shows his piece of paper, and on that piece of paper is the word focus. And the other one looks at the piece of paper and laughs and shows his piece of paper. And there's also the same word, the word focus. And so focus is essential. It's focus, it's awareness that makes us see like, hey, wait a minute, perhaps it's not this time-saving app. Perhaps it's just spending less time on this device altogether. Perhaps it's not this YouTube video about how to save time, but just spending less time on YouTube. Perhaps it's not this thing that we can on our scroll. Perhaps it's just less scrolling on social media, like it's that focus and awareness, and then acting upon that focus and awareness. And so this is something that we intuitively also know. We know, everybody know this. Like if you go to school, the teacher were saying that. I remember them saying that very clearly and loudly, like, Dries, pay attention, focus. What are you doing? Why are you drawing on the piece of paper? Focus, for God's sake. Little did they knew that there would be a painter and that drawing would probably be a better preparation for me, but they were saying that, and in the meantime they were not explaining me how to focus. They were not doing that. And so, and they never do that. Think about your school time. Like, they were not explaining you how to focus, yet they were saying, focus, pay attention all of the time. They didn't knew how to focus because nobody teach them. And so these important principles, we don't get those taught in school systems or in other parts. Like, for example, as a parent, you probably say, if you're a parent or if you have been a child before in your life, probably, then your parent probably said that to you, like, pay attention, focus, yet they were not explaining you how to do that. And that's where meditation comes in, because meditation is oftentimes misunderstood. It's just focus training. That's what meditation is. It is not hippie stuff. It is not chakras and different levels and all of that spiritual BS that oftentimes happen. It's none of that stuff. It's for me, it is just focus training. It is training one of the most important muscles in your brain. That actually enables you to have control over your brain, your thoughts, your desires, your everything, in a way that you can steer it in the direction that you want it to go. Like, that's important. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about how that benefit. What happens if you would train, hypothetically, if you would train your focus every single day for a couple of months straight? What would happen? How would that increased focus? What benefit would you have? Concrete benefit in your day-to-day activities? Because a lot of times when we hear people talk about meditation, they don't really talk about those things. It's too fluffy. You're watching YouTube right now, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about YouTube, because I was once addicted to YouTube. I was addicted to learning on YouTube. Like that educational content was very, very, very attractive to me. And as an artist, I'm not an artist that is addicted to drugs or alcohol or any of those substances. But this YouTube thing, dopamine triggering whatever activity, was very, very attractive to me. And so I would watch, and in the beginnings it's really powerful. In the beginnings, you actually learn so much, and then suddenly at a sudden moment it becomes too much. You don't just learn an hour or two a day, which is acceptable depending on what sources you use. But you start to do like way more than that, and it becomes a mess. So you're watching YouTube now. You might not be addicted, but let's talk about that. So what happens? What happens if you, for example, let's say I'm in the kitchen, I'm standing in, or somebody is standing in the kitchen, they're doing whatever they're doing, and they remind themselves in that moment of, hey, I need to check my mail because of this thing. And so they go to their laptop, they go to their computer, they click on Chrome, they type in the browser, YOU, click enter, site comes up, boom, they click enter, and before they know it, they are watching YouTube. And 10 minutes later, they remind themselves, or they recognize, like, hey, wait a minute, I wanted to check my mail. And now I'm watching YouTube. This is what happens. What happened is very simple. You have been watching YouTube so many times that the neural pathways that are being used to watch YouTube in your brain are so strong that when you do something that is very similar, for example, opening a web browser for a different website, you're like that happens in a very similar same place in your brain, and so it's very easy for your brain to now default in that activity that it knows so well, which is watching YouTube. It also knows that is a safe activity. It will not kill you. And so from a biological evolutionary standpoint, it's good. It's good to do that behavior. And so that's what your brain does. It does that behavior that it knows very well, that it knows will not kill you, etc. And so you're watching YouTube now. So what meditation will do for you is first of all, when that happens, you will become aware, because of your increased focus. You will become aware of the fact that there's a distraction possible. YouTube, you're opening Chrome web browser, and you know, like, hey, I feel this urge to type in YouTube and click on enter. So you will become aware of that, and then second, you will, because your increased focus and you've trained to bring your focus back, it will be very easy for you to just stay focused on the course, which is checking your mail in this particular example, instead of watching YouTube. And so this is a benefit. This is an insane benefit. If you, like, it is estimated that we waste hours and hours and hours of distraction a day. Like, if you can focus through all of that, you suddenly produce 4 or 5 hours a day more, whether it's more content or more paintings or more calls or more whatever. Like, it's that matters, and that's one example, but you have that in everything, like or focus is a meta skill that you use in all your other skills, whether it's talking or reading or painting or coding on your computer. Whatever you do, if you have more focus, you will be better at doing that thing that you have to do. It's that simple. And so that's why meditation is dangerous. It's not some hippie happy thing where you become happy. Like, if you've watched my other content on YouTube, you know that I'm probably not the most charismatic, happy, whatever person out there. And meditation, like, if you do loving kindness meditations, sure, there is a happiness boost and all of that stuff, but that's not the core of it. The core of it is just dry, boring focus training that then leads to those things. So for those of you who don't know what meditation is, who don't know what actually happens when people meditate, what are they doing when they're closing their eyes? Like, what happens inside their head? So let's quickly give you some information there in 20 seconds. What happens is very simple. You sit in a comfortable position. You close your eyes, and then you're going to focus on an object, a meditative object. It doesn't really matter, that word. And And that object is going to be boring and it's going to be omnipresent, so you can always focus on it. Like this, you cannot always focus on it because it's not like it's changing, but it's not always there. It's only there when the clap happens, for example. Like the breath is something that always happens. You're always breathing. Or it's possible to just always breathe in and out. And so that's the advantage of focusing on the breath or something similar, is that you will have a very boring object, which is the breath. Like, it's not interesting. It's not like television or something, and it's omnipresent. And so inevitably, when you focus on something as boring as this, 10 seconds later, you will be distracted. And so you are closing your eyes for, like, let's say you do a counting method where you count your inner and outer breaths. So every time you breathe out, you say 1, breathe in, 2, breathe out, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, all the way to 10, and then you count down. Because that's a very easy way to then see if you're distracted or not. And so you're counting, and suddenly, literally 10 seconds later, you notice that you're not counting anymore. So you're not focused on the breath anymore. And so that's a very, very weak type of focus. If you are distracted after 10 seconds, which is true for most people, then you have a problem. And so what happens then, when you notice this, is you, instead of say, shit, or I cannot say that on YouTube, but fuck, I ruined this, or like, I'm distracted, you loser, whatever, you will talk yourself down in your head. Don't do that. Make it a positive reinforcement, like, hey, this is super nice. I now notice that I'm distracted, and then after that, you bring your awareness back to the meditative object, which is the breath, and that over and over and over again. And so in one session of 20 minutes, you will be distracted, let's say, I don't know, in the beginning, let's say 150 times. You will notice it, let's say, 6 times. And in those 6 times, or 10 times, or 15 times, sometimes it's going to be, you're going to notice it fast. Sometimes it's going to take you 2 minutes to notice that you're actually mind wandering. And so then you bring it back. You positively reinforce that you noticed it, so that you will notice it sooner and sooner and sooner in the future. And then you bring it back. And you train that muscle of bringing your awareness back to the meditative object. And that is focus. That is focus and attention right there. And so you train your attention. Just like you would do bicep curls, you're training that muscle that is used to bring your focus back to where it needs to be. And so that's a power. Meditation is focus training. And if you understand this, then you understand, obviously, that you have to like this video and comment underneath this video, because that would help me out in return. And so yeah, before we go on, before I leave you guys, I want to leave you with one story of an art teacher and what he did and how that can impact your life. So this art teacher divided the class into 2 groups. And to one group, he said, I'm going to grade you, like always, 1 work at the end of the semester, and I'm going to grade it on everything. Quality, concept, meaning, composition, color, whatever, everything. And to the other group, he said, I'm going to grade you at the end of the semester, and I'm going to grade you based on the quantity of creation, the quantity of works that you made. So the more you make, the more works you make, the higher your score. No skill, no composition, no nothing. Just the quantity. And at the end of the semester, as you could expect, the people of the second group made more works. They made more works than the people of the first group. But one thing was very strange. They didn't only made more works. They also made works, paintings of better quality. Better skill, better meaning, better composition, better everything. And then they did this test over and over and over again, and the same results kept on coming up. And so we know out of these experiments that quality, you can go towards quality through quantity. You can go towards quality through quantity, and only through quantity. Not only through quantity, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but that's going to be a major player. And so Again, here focus is gonna enable you to go towards that quantity. Ironically, and not only quantity, ironically, the lack of judgment, but because that's really what it is. If you're only going to be judged on the amount of work that you produce, suddenly you're free. You can make whatever you want. You can draw one line on a piece of paper, have an explanation for it, boom, you have a work. You know, like the lack of judgment. What is that? It's focus. You not giving a fuck about the opinions of other people, you not giving a fuck about somebody criticizing your work, criticizing you as a human being or whatever that you're afraid of, is focus. If you can decide what you focus on, which voices you allow to enter your brain and which voices you just don't focus on, like that's what it is. If you can go towards that position, towards that spot, then you can freely grow and freely create. And that's what you want as an artist. And that's what meditation can bring to you. True focus. Focus is the baseline, is the foundation of that mindset where you do not give a fuck anymore. Now, there's one more thing that I want you guys to do now. If you like this video, press the like button. And if you dislike it, press the dislike button twice just to make sure. And beyond that, like, if you came this far in the video and you disliked it twice, then let's face it, you're addicted to YouTube. You're addicted to YouTube. There's no reason for you still being here. And so what you then have to do is definitely comment. I'm addicted to YouTube because that awareness and that sharing of that awareness will really enable you to take that next step and train your focus and ring that bell. Ring that bell. Subscribe to this stuff. Ring that bell. If you don't ring that bell, we will never see each other again. There's only one way. It's to ring that bell. Oh man. Artists, collectors, or people. Ciao, ciao.